All right, so Safe Drinking Water Foundation, it's a charity helping to educate elementary and high school kids about water quality issues in Canada. And today we're going to talk about follow-up surveys. So now that you've had the chance to survey your community and find out what they know about your issue, and then maybe you've had the chance to educate your community, and now you want to follow that up with one more survey to see how their attitudes have changed. So your follow-up survey, you will have to be sure to ask the same questions that were on your first survey, and that will just be to keep your data all in order so that you know how attitudes have changed. You'll have to ask the same people who took the first survey. So if someone did not take the first survey and receive your education, then unfortunately they can't take your follow-up survey and they can't be a part of your data population. But if someone didn't take the first survey and hasn't seen any education materials, there may be an opportunity where you can survey them and expose them to the same educational materials, and then they could take the follow-up survey and be a part of your data set. And it's really important to keep track of everyone who takes your first survey, and that's just because if someone takes your first survey but doesn't take your last survey, then you can't see how their attitudes have changed, and then they won't be able to be a part of your report at all. So it's important to keep track somehow of everyone who's taken your first survey and find out a way that works best that you can get your second or your final survey to them as well. And one few more reminder kind of points about surveys. It's good to ask survey questions that are easy to answer in a few words, specific and quantitative, and every group is going to have different questions depending on your issues. So you want to ask specific questions, possibly yes or no, so that you don't have any data that might not be easy to interpret. So if it's yes or no, then there's no gray area. And if you do have some questions that are in a gray area, it might be difficult to see how the attitudes have changed. And again, it's important to keep track of everyone who took the first survey. So if it wasn't at an assembly or something like that, or at an event, then be sure that you know how to get back in touch with those people, whether it's through email or a Google form that you've set up, or if you can personally find them and give them a paper copy. It might be trickier, so if you do have it at an assembly or at some other community event, it'll be a lot easier to keep track of everyone who's taken the first survey. And what are you going to do with the answers you get from your survey? So you're going to count up all the people who have certain attitude or action. And it's important to think about this when choosing your questions, just to make sure that you're getting answers that are quantifiable towards liters of water saved or area square meters of impermeable surfaces made permeable. And that's just so you really only have one chance to ask the questions to get that data that you want, because once they've taken that survey and learned about the issue, then you might have already changed their mind, and it's hard to get that baseline data. And so some more reminders about baseline data. It's a starting point for education. So you need to be sure that your first survey gets all the information so you can report accurately on the change. If your initial survey and follow-up survey have the same questions, then it's going to be easy to see how that attitude has changed. And once they have seen your education materials, then they're unable to contribute to your baseline data. Some more reminders: every project must ask the question, where does your water come from? And keep track of how many people have the correct response. And then in your follow-up survey, you're going to ask the question again, and you will probably see that hopefully everyone at the end of your project knows where their water comes from. And to get accurate data, you have to ask questions without telling your audience what your project is. So if your project is trying to get people to save water by turning off the tap when they brush their teeth, they may want to sound like they are doing a good job and that they don't do that and that they are saving water when really they aren't. So it's good to try and ask people in a way that doesn't show what you're trying to prove, because they might be persuaded by that. So here's an example. You could have the school put an announcement out to ask students how long they take in the shower every day, not telling them that you're trying to figure out how much water could be saved by having shorter showers. So this way that they'll just tell you without thinking about it, and then you'll get true data. And then you can calculate an average to get a representation of the school, and this would be your baseline data. And then you'll go out and you'll ask people if they know where their water comes from and how much water is being wasted by taking long showers. So this way you'll be educating them, and then at the very end you could ask if maybe they've changed their attitudes, how long of showers are they taking now, and you can do the calculations to determine how many liters of water will be saved by your whole school or whatever your population is to take less showers or shorter showers. And for your report, here's some important data that you will have to keep track of. The number of people surveyed, and within that, how many people in different age groups are surveyed. So 6 to 24, 24 to 60, 60 plus, just some ideas. It doesn't have to be these ones specifically. And how many people are volunteering, so how many people are helping you with your education materials, or how many people are helping you distribute surveys, or just in any way if you have a project to make impermeable surfaces permeable, how many people came out to help you with that, and how many teachers, how many students. So these points will all be required for the report, and we'll talk about that a little bit more coming up. Here's some example calculations for calculating percentages. So if you ask 347 people who completed the initial survey, or if you ask them how or where does your water come from, and 229 of those people answered correctly, so then you want to find out what percentage of people in your community know where their water comes from. So you're going to take the 229 correct answers, and you divide that by 347, which is the total number of people who you asked, and then you'll get a decimal point of in this case, 0.66, and that goes to a percentage of 66%. And if you ask them again at the end, 347 people, so being sure that you ask the same people who from your initial survey, making sure you ask the exact same people the same question, then you'll find that this time you have 96% people answer or know correctly where their water comes from. And here's an example with some different unit conversions to determine how much water is saved. So if you have a participant who looks up information about their shower head and learns that it flows at 190 US gallons per hour, and you want to find out if they shower for 10 minutes, how many liters of water are used. So 190 US gallons per hour. So there's 3.79 liters in 1 US gallon. So you times the first number by that, and then you times that again or divide that by 60 minutes, because there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. And then you'll multiply that by 10 minutes, and that will give you an answer of 120 liters. And now you want to find out if they take a shorter shower, so instead of taking 10 minutes in the shower, they shower for 7 minutes, how many liters of water will be conserved. And so now you'll do the same calculations in the first step, but instead of having 10 minutes, you'll multiply that by 7 minutes. and you'll get an answer of 84 liters, which if you subtract 84 liters from 120 liters, you'll have 36 liters of water has been conserved. And if you have any questions or are having trouble with finding information about different appliances or shower heads or whatever it is that you're trying to minimize to save water, or if you want some help with calculations like these and conversions, then please just feel free to email or call either me or Nicole in the office or takingaction@safewater.org. And so going back to the competition criteria, so this is why it's important to keep track of how many people take part in your project and some information about those people. So we want to know the number and diversity of community involvement. So how many volunteers, maybe the age group of those volunteers, how many people took part in your survey, and how many people have decided to change their attitudes and actions on water issues. And again, the big part of this is educating people on where their water comes from. So how many people knew at the start of your project where their water comes from? And then how has that changed at the end of your project? How many people that you've talked to are now aware of where their water comes from? And we're looking for a measurable positive impact on urban water issues. So this is a quantifiable number that you'll come up with of how many liters of water will be saved each day with the community members who have decided to take action and change their attitudes, or how many square meters of impermeable surface has been depaved, made permeable, and how many water conserving devices have been installed as part of saving liters of water each day. And it's also criteria to include some photos and videos of students taking action in their community and impacting their community. And final reports will be due on February 19th, and we will have a link to a Google form for report submissions will be available shortly, most likely next week. And as part of that, you will have to just email in any photos or videos and any other spreadsheets or calculators that you've derived to help you with your calculations. You'll just have to email some of that information separate from your Google form to takingaction@safewater.org. And there will be an email coming out when this is all available. So we want to thank everyone for joining today, and thanks for the RBC Blue Water Project for making this all possible. And if there's any feedback, please follow this link, and we'd love to hear from you to try and make this better. If you have not signed up officially, it's not too late. You can do that at this link. And if you need any help getting caught up or up to speed, we have webinar recordings on our website, or if you email takingaction@safewater.org, we can email you the PDF slide decks and give you any other information you need to help you get started or get going on your project. And any questions at all about this webinar or the competition in general, feel free to contact Tim or Nicole at the phone number below, 306-934-0389, or email at takingaction@safewater.org or info@safewater.org. And on our website there are a number of resources under the competition ribbon there that will help you and might give you some questions that you have for us. So thanks again for everyone joining and everyone who watches the recording, and we hope to hear from you. Thanks.